Welcome everybody to the Rise Higher podcast. Today I have actress, singer, humanitarian, overall awesome human being, Virginia Williams, who's also on the hit TV show right now, season 2 and 3 of Fuller House.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm curious because I have a lot of friends who are in the entertainment industry, and I always wonder when you, how it all started for them. When you were a little girl, did you know I wanted to be an actress?
I first wanted to be a singer. I think I do have really vivid memories of being a little girl and having my mom's hysterically. I still use the same hairbrush.
Do you really?
I do. It's this black, like the Mason Pearson ones for people who knew hairbrushes. Yes. I think ours was the cheaper version, but it's that you can kind of take your hair and do the southern thing and get it teased up big. A bit with it. Yeah.
How big did you get your hair at certain points?
I mean, as big as it would go, as with my mom, and I still often do. I mean, if you notice, I still even have a little poof thing going on right now because I'm like, oh, my hair's dirty, I don't have time for anything. Just tease it. Poof. Put it back. But I remember taking that black hairbrush that kind of looked like a microphone and just singing in the mirror. And I had just a great time singing, and I was kind of rewarded for that young. I got the leads in the plays and things like that, and the musicals and things like that, so I was sort of encouraged to do more of it and really fell in love with that. And then when I was in high school, if you're a singer, you then do the musicals, and so I was acting by way of singing just because of doing musicals. And then I kind of fell in love with acting that way, really through musicals. And it wasn't until I went to college that I really started studying the craft of acting and characters and all that kind of jazz that I ended up deciding to make acting more my focus.
Yeah. And then you are from the South.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah. When did you come out to Los Angeles?
I came out to LA, it was 2002, I believe. So I was in New York before that. I went to college in New York at Fordham University at Lincoln Center, and I studied with the British American Drama Academy in London, and I also went to Oxford for a bit and got my Shakespeare training and all there. So I had this period, late 90s, early 2000s, of my training and college and all that, and then 9/11 happened. And everything in New York really shifted and changed at that time. And for someone who had started really working in television, everything just really dried up. Unless you were doing Law & Order or Sopranos or Sex and the City, that was it. No new shows were coming out there for a bit. And it was a really hard time there. And I was flown to Los Angeles to test for something. I tested for a pilot, and my agent said, well, why don't you just stay in LA? And I thought, ugh, I'm a New Yorker. I'm not gonna go to LA. I'm not gonna like those LA people. I'm gonna hate it. And I came to LA for a week and was like, why doesn't everyone in the world live in LA? This place is amazing. I would get really depressed every February in New York. Just a month, very seasonal depression. I do not do well with cold weather. And my spirits would just be so down. It was always such a dreary time. And I remember I came out in, January, February, and I was sitting at a Starbucks and my legs were getting tan and I was having a coffee and I thought, I've sold out. I'm LA. No, and I loved it. And I fell into a wonderful group of friends very quickly, and that sort of helped me create a real family here. And now I love Los Angeles. I think every city is what you make of it.
Yeah. So at that time, things dried up, you came to LA to test for something, you stayed here. Was it still the same in Los Angeles, or was it different in terms of the opportunities when you got here?
There were a lot more opportunities here, many, many more. I loved doing theater, and theater is my first love. And actually, as I was talking earlier about musicals, I would say probably my number one career dream in life is to ultimately be a lead in a Broadway musical. So that is definitely something I want to do someday. But when I was in New York right out of college, like I did some off-Broadway Shakespeare, and I was able to really enjoy a lot of things creatively in New York that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to have. Not that there aren't Shakespeare performances in Los Angeles, they're just perhaps not as well attended. But I'd really kind of taken a turn. I was really more working in film and TV, and primarily television. And unquestionably, there's more opportunity in Los Angeles, or there was back then, and I believe still is here in LA.
Yeah. What was the process like? Because again, having so many friends who pursue it, and I watch that, like, there's certain amazing qualities that you have to possess in order to keep going in pursuing your career. What was it like for you? Was it easy for you? Were you just one of those people like, boom, I landed on a show when I got to LA? Or did it take something from you to keep going and get your first?
Yeah, it a little of both. I was fortunate early on. When I was in high school, I was on a soap opera, One Life to Live, and I actually flew to New York to audition for Fordham University at Lincoln Center's theater department. And I had a manager at the time there because I had been out the summer before and had done some commercials and things. And she said, well, if you stay an extra day, I've got this audition for you for a 3-day part on One Life to Live. And I just thought that was about the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And it was my first like big, real acting job, not just selling toothpaste or something. And anyway, I booked the role, and it turned into, it was not a 3-day part. They just kind of kept writing me in, and I ended up being able to fly back and forth from Memphis to New York to shoot through my senior year. So I was really fortunate that by the time I graduated college, I already had some credits under my belt. I had done some commercials, and even in my senior year, I'd started working on a TV show called Strangers with Candy that some of your listeners may know. It's a very niche audience that loved this show, but it was Amy Sedaris and Stephen Colbert and Paul Dinello, and this fantastic cult following show on Comedy Central that I was a really fun character on. I kind of played Amy Sedaris's arch nemesis, and got to be the captain of the cheerleaders, and
I could see that,
the whatever the the head of the track team, the whatever. We kind of had our rivalry, and it was loads of fun, but it allowed me to have an actual resume when I graduated, which helped me have a little bit of a leg up in terms of getting representation and all that kind of stuff. After all of that, after I graduated from college, I ended up doing another soap opera, As the World Turns. Did that for about a year, around the 9/11 time. And I was faced with a choice to either stay in New York and stay where at the time I was pretty comfortable. I mean, being in your early 20s and actually making money as an actor is kind of amazing, and hard to give up and go, you know what though, I feel like if I don't leave this right now and go try and see what I can do in LA, it's only gonna get harder. So I did, and I came to LA, and the first year I was here, no, I could not get arrested. Every month was like, do I get to still live in this apartment, or do I have to call my parents or go home, or, whatever.
Yeah.
And every month something would come through, some residual check would come in, or some voiceover job, or something would happen, and I was able to keep staying here. And it took a little bit, and then once I kind of got a little bit of a lucky break, and then things started snowballing. So to answer your question, both. I was blessed early on with a little bit of work, but I definitely have not. It's not been a journey for me that went, okay, I worked once and now I've just always worked and I've never worried about never working again. No, I feel like every year I'm like, am I ever going to work again? Oh, okay, well. Yeah. Now am I ever going to work again?
Well, I love even before we started rolling cameras, you said, because you're on this hit show right now, and you did season 2 and 3, and fingers crossed that you just stay on the show. But that you're like, oh no, got to keep looking for the next thing, because it's you just never know what's going to happen, right?
Right. In my line of work, you pretty much are always just looking for the next job. I mean, I think there are some people, like the people who are maybe on ER or
It's like 30th year, right?
Yeah.
And
they go, okay, I think I'm safe. I think I've got a show, Grey's Anatomy, where it's like they keep getting renewed. Those are but for the rest of us, no, it's you're constantly looking for another job. I mean, every show I've done has only gone a season or two, and then you go look for the next job. Yeah. And while you're in between series regular jobs, you're always doing guest stars, recurrings. I do, voiceover stuff as well. I sing and record. Like, you just kind of always keeping a bunch of balls in the air and making it work.
When in those moments, so you said in the first year, you're like, there were times when you're going, am I going to pay my rent? Sure. What do I do? What did you do to kind of keep yourself maybe in the right mindset to keep going, or stay as, I guess, positive, or I don't even know if that's the direction I'm in, but how did you keep yourself in the right frame of mind? I am a prayer. I'm a girl who prays, and there was a lot of prayer and a lot of just heart to hearts with God going, hey, is this what I'm even supposed to be doing? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And I feel like every time that I would think, maybe I'm young enough, I can still find another career. Every time I thought, maybe I'll go another direction, there was like this little nugget, this little thing would come through. And it kind of just these little whispers to me, I felt like, that kept telling me I was on the right path. Just keep going, just keep doing this. This is what you love. You'll keep being blessed in it if you just keep persevering. And I just worked really, really hard on my outlook. I've always been a person who responds really well to motivational books, and my dad. I'll tell you a funny story. So I grew up in a house that is all about positive thinking, and you fall down and you get back up and turn that frown upside down and whatever. We read lots of Zig Ziglar and everything in our house. And my dad, when I was growing up, he wouldn't give us an allowance. He couldn't understand an allowance. Why would you just get money for doing nothing? You had to earn it. And one way that we would earn it, we didn't really earn it by like taking out the trash and stuff. My brother and I would earn it by reading positive thinking books and giving a book report to my dad. So when I was 6 years old, the first book I ever read, like really read, like book, not, whatever, brown cow, was How to Win Friends and Influence People. That is a good one to start with.
Yeah, so I had a poster board, and I told him, and I'd get paid, I think it was like 10 cents a page. So, so that's how I earned money. I don't even remember. It's not very long. No. It's not very long. But I got some money. I got a couple dollars at the end of this, I guess. And it was a wonderful way to start as a child, and to teach a child, I think, how to frame how you think about things, and that ultimately success is going to come to the people who are determined and diligent, and who have a positive attitude about what they're doing. And Absolutely. So I don't know, I mean, that sounds a little Pollyanna and hokey, I know, but truthfully, I think that really everything is attitude. And I would get really down, and you just kind of have to go, all right, well, this is still a choice of mine. I'm still choosing this. And I can choose something else. I can choose another path, but I have power, and it's my choice. And if I want to keep doing this, instead of going, woe is me, things aren't happening my way, go, no, I'm actually empowered because I'm still choosing this. I'm choosing it, and I love it, and I'm going to trust that ultimately my needs will be taken care of, and they always somehow have been.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Well, one, how fortunate were you that you had parents that ingrained this positivity, because so much of who we are now is based off of what we learned in our past. And if you have this, I mean, I remember the first time I was in the same room with you. We were in the, at TNH with a ton of women, and you just were this bright, shining light. You would always jump in and joke and say funny things. And when people would talk, you would spin it. And I'm like, who is that over there radiating with your beautiful belly? She was pregnant. not like beautiful big belly. You're pregnant. But it was just such, I could feel the authenticity in you, and it's from, you could tell I was either going, she either trained herself this way because you needed to, or you got this from when you were growing up. So it's really neat to hear.
Thanks.
You have that from
I just think it's really important. Like what you're doing is so valuable. I think it's just really important to listen to things, watch things that are edifying. And we watch so much from the news to even the TV shows we watch that are all about disaster and tearing people down and fear. It's all about fear, right? And look, I love Game of Thrones as much as the next person, for sure. But I also have to be aware when I go to bed, like, am I going to bed, the last images I have in my mind are of fire-breathing dragons burning people alive and like rulers trying to kill each other and all this sort of stuff. And you kind of have to take a moment and go, okay, that fantasy world is super fun. I'm not saying you can't enjoy that, but what we put in shapes who we are
completely.
And if you're sitting in the car and you can listen to this podcast or you can whatever, and you learn so much from other people, I also make it a real point to try and hear the stories of and listen to the people that I respect and admire in my field. This is a super quick aside, but I was watching another program, some web program. I don't even remember it, to be honest with you. But Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, who's an actress, was on there, and she said one of the most fascinating things that I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I'd heard that when I was a greener actor, but it's still very valuable for me to hear right now. And she said, and this is, come on, Ron Howard's daughter, like, come on. Silver platter, here you go.
You don't even need to work for it. Here you go.
I mean, and she's very talented, and I don't know her personally, but she seems like someone I'd be friends with if the opportunity arose. Bryce, if you're listening, let's get coffee. But she was talking about how her grandmother had said to her that it takes an average of, I might get this wrong, but I think the number was 62 auditions before you get a yes. It takes 62 no's before you get a yes. And so when she was starting out, she would go into auditions and give it her best shot. And when she didn't get it, she was like, fantastic. I'm one more close to that 62 number.
Love it.
And I thought, what a great way to look at that, instead of being so disappointed when you get a no, which, by the way, if you're in my business, it's a hello of a lot more no's than yeses. And you have to know that going in. But what a great way to look at it is, okay, well, that thing didn't go my way, and I'm just that much closer to getting to that place when it does go my way. And what a pleasant surprise if at number 14 you do get the job. You know?
I love that. What you said was so powerful. It's your attitude. Like, even that is an attitude towards, it's like, no, I'm seeing it as I'm getting closer instead of a defeat. Which
planting seeds.
Yeah. And so what I heard what you said, which I love, is attitude and faith. It's a recipe for some magic, because I know sometimes I get in the space where I was like, am I meant to do this? Or this feels so hard. And it's like, but you get those little nuggets, as I shared with you about even doing this podcast. It was like the day of the first shoot was the day that I had the conversation with someone to incept this into my mind and heart to do this. So and I really did believe that it was from God too. That it was kind of because I think I had a mini meltdown the day before where I was like, I don't even know.
It's always how it, right?
And then the next day Facebook's like, I thought you'd like to remember this. And it reminded me of the day. And then that's when I go, all right, one foot in front of the other. And so it's having that and really paying attention to the signs of, it's going to be hard sometimes, but there's going to be, just nods along the way, or just little messages saying, just keep going.
I think there's something to what you just said too that reminded me of, many times in my career where I've just been in a puddle on the floor. But I distinctly remember after I was married, and I think this was one year I had tested, oh my goodness, I had, talk about being encouraged to death. I, one year, tested for 13 pilots.
Wow.
In 1 year. So on the one hand, you go, oh my goodness, that's incredible. You were down to the final 2 or 3 with like every major network for leads on every major show. Like, that's phenomenal. That's
huge.
Great. On the other hand, you look at it as like, why can't I get hired? What's wrong with me? I'm literally looking in the mirror. I'm like, do I have like a growth out of my nose I've never seen or something? Like what is making it always be the other girl and not me? And it was so hard, but weirdly so encouraging at the same time. It was such a dichotomy, right? And I remember I was newly married, and I remember being in the bathtub and just hysterically crying after number 12. I mean, just, the ugly cry. Cannot even catch a breath. And my husband just being so sweet and being like, no, it's around the corner. I was like, I'm so sick of hearing it's around the corner. I just don't think I can do this anymore. And once I think there's a lot of power in being at that very, very, what you consider a low point and releasing it. And I just was like, you know what? I'm done. God, whatever you want to do, fine. Just help me release this and not cling to it so tight and not try so hard to get the job. So the next thing that I went in for that I got really close on and ended up testing for, I remember it was for a role that I thought was really fun and kind of a character-y role and wasn't necessarily anything like any of the other things that I had auditioned for. And I thought, I'm just gonna let it go. Whatever happens, happens. I mean, and that's when you get it. And of course, that's so when I got it, we went a couple of seasons, and I was the number 2 on the show, and it was a really rewarding, great, fun. Bought my house. It was a rewarding all around thing to do, but I don't think it could have happened until I was ready to just let it go.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. I mean,
I was about to say, it's like, that's the lesson. It's like, just trust and know and let go. Yeah. How has it been? Because I know you just gave birth to a beautiful baby boy who was the best birthday ever.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. 4th of July. I got married on New Year's Eve, and now I have a baby, a 4th of July little Yankee Doodle boy. So we are all about fireworks at our house, apparently.
Nice.
And by the way, I hate fireworks. I like looking at fireworks. I'm so anti setting off fireworks by yourself. We are from the South, and so of course we have family members that have, go out to the lake for the 4th or whatever, and it always gives me so much anxiety when the boys go out and we can go buy fireworks and do our own fireworks. I'm like, no, someone's gonna blow off a finger. It scares me to death. I don't mind it when professionals are doing it.
But not the boys.
Oh my gosh! So I'm kind of terrified of them. So I think it's hilarious that on like the 2 holidays that fireworks happen. But it'll be fun. Yeah, he's right at 2 months and a few days old now, and it'll be super cool. I think that at least in the beginning, we'll be always be able to tell him, see those? We did that for you. Yeah. Those fireworks. Yeah, Mama, you're welcome. Mama and Dad will work that out for you. Yeah.
And I think I remember when I saw that you posted it, I was like, best birthday ever because you get fireworks and everyone's got the day off.
Yeah.
So no one can say I can't make your birthday. You're
right.
Like, dude, I know you got the day off. You can come to my birthday on the 4th of July.
Right? I'm already planning his first birthday party. I think it's going to say like, Bo's birthday, or happy birthday, Bo, and in parentheses, and America, like that it's his birthday. It'll be fun. I think it's a fun birthday to have. And his aunt, my husband's, or great aunt, I guess it is my husband's aunt, also has a 4th of July birthday, and she loves it. So she told us, no, it's a good one. Don't worry, he won't compete with the holiday. It'll only enhance it. So we'll see. Yeah.
What do you love most about being a mother?
It depends on the day you ask me that question, what my response would be. But given that we were just talking about career things, I will say one of the things I love most about being a mother, I have a 1.5-year-old as well. Well, he's 21 months old now. He was 19 months when my other baby was born, 2 boys. And I think one thing that I have really loved about being a mom is how much pressure, I feel like, is taken off of the self. So I'm a self-proclaimed perfectionist, and I'm a perfectionist. I have a really hard time. I'm always trying to improve myself, and I'm beating myself up for not being better at this or that or the other. And there's something about having kids where you just have to go, I mean, I just told you, I got dirty hair today. Like, you just got to do what you got to do what you got to do to get everybody fed and get everybody else clean. And if you get clean, bonus. But there's something really nice about, I didn't don't think I really realized just how much time, energy, focus, everything was on me. And now it's very freeing and liberating for me to be, I don't want to say lower on the priority list, because you do have to take care of yourself. Totally. I mean, health-wise and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I think also being an actress, so much of my day revolved around, well, I gotta get my hair done, and I've gotta then get my nails done, and I gotta get my brows done, and then I gotta get my laser hair removal, and I gotta do this, and then I gotta go to this interview, and I gotta have this magazine shoot, and I gotta do, and there's something, you just have to pick and choose differently. Mm-hmm. You know, you just kind of go, you know, the world will still keep on spinning. Absolutely. If my eyebrows are not waxed, but I really do need to spend this extra time with my 1-year-old who's feeling neglected because I'm always nursing my baby, and I need to just prioritize things differently and make them a priority. And there's something really lovely about taking the focus off of yourself and putting it onto others and onto helping others. And you sort of have built-in people to do that with when you have kids.
Yeah. You know, I remember one of my mentors saying, because you know, I think most people are very self-centered in the sense of, what's wrong with me? What do I have to do for me? Me. And that also can cause a lot of negativity for ourselves. And so when we get so spun out in our minds about things that are not good about us, picking ourselves apart, etc., that he said, when in doubt, focus out.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Oh, I love that so much.
Because all of a sudden it's like, stop thinking so much about yourself. Give yourself a break. Stop doing that beat up thing, whatever. Go focus on someone else. Go give out to another human being. And then you ultimately feel a shift because, like you said, the focus isn't all like me, and you're giving out to another human being and really realizing that you are a valuable person and you have so much to contribute. And
I will probably the most painful hardship of my life, I would say, or hardships, were I had multiple pregnancy losses before my first son was born. And I've been open about this in the past, so I think we should share our stories. And I think too many women have a lot of shame around miscarriage and I don't know why we feel like we can't talk about it. But it was a really low, hard period for me for years of being pregnant and not pregnant and going through all of the hormonal changes and the postpartum and the this and that and the other, and just desperately really wanting a child. And anyway, I remember after my third miscarriage, I started going to this animal shelter on a street that was pretty close to mine, and started just playing with the dogs. And for many days in a row, I would just continue to come and love on them. And I realized that it was more therapeutic for me, or as therapeutic for me as it was for them. And the shift that happened of just loving something else, like taking your energy and putting it into helping and loving, taking them on walks, whatever, like just pouring that into
something else instead of
something else outside of yourself, instead of going the woe is me, or why is this happening to me, or what's wrong with me, all those voices in your head, and instead going, well, how do I help other people? And there are other organizations and things that I have been quite passionate about, and I pour a lot of energy into. But at this one particular moment in my life, it was puppies. And grown dogs that had been neglected. Whatever, it was dogs, and it was really, really great. But what it taught me, that I hope is a lesson that I'll remember throughout life, is exactly what you said. When in doubt, focus out. That the best thing that I could do was to go take the focus off of myself and go
give. I know you mentioned the whole, I would love to deep dive into this too, because I think people would find so much value in the whole conversation around miscarriages. What that's like as a woman to go through it and to feel that disappointment. I know that you're mentioning it was hard, and then you went to go play with the puppies to help get out of your own head. But what was, why do you think we have so much shame around sharing that part?
I don't fully know. Of course, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. And I would say that for me, I felt even though logically it doesn't make sense, I felt solely responsible. I mean, I understand it takes so many parts and pieces, and we tested me, we tested my eggs, we tested my husband, we tested all of his stuff, and we were both seemingly perfectly healthy. We had no genetic history of why this would be an issue. It just kept happening, and I just felt like there was something wrong with my body. Like, there must be something that I'm doing, and then I think I would spiral into thinking, well, is it because I waited too long, and now I'm older, and I should have had kids when I was 23, and, you know, and it's 17. Like, oh my gosh, you know, or is this because that cigarette I smoked, you know, like whatever it is, you just kind of spiral into like just self-shaming of what have I done wrong, and and I think that. Also, interestingly, at the time, I had some success in my career, and in my job, it's a roller coaster. There's ups and there's downs. And I happened to get pregnant at a time after a show I was on was off the air, was looking for another job, and then I had a pregnancy and then the loss. And I think it was compounded by things not going great in my career as well. And then there's a lot of pain around that, and feeling worthless and feeling useless and feeling like I couldn't succeed at something. So when I was then having the multiple pregnancy losses, I thought, wow, I was really in a place where it was very easy to spiral and go, oh my gosh, if this thing that I got my identity from, which was my job and my success in my job, if this component isn't working, and now I wasn't trying to fill that void with a kid. I always wanted a family. It just, I definitely felt like, oh, I would get pregnant and go, oh, my spirits are lifted. I'm feeling like a useful human being on this planet again. I'm doing something good. I'm going to make a human. And then I would lose the human, and it was like, wow, I really am crummy at everything, aren't I? And so I think that there is a lot of women tie I certainly did, tie their identities to being able to have a healthy child. And when I wasn't able to for those years, I really just felt like a failure. And so that's why I think people kind of keep it hidden, and it feels somehow shameful, even though I think most women logically understand it's not their fault or anything that they can do. It still just kind of feels that way. It's embarrassing. I didn't want, and you know what? I didn't want other people's pity. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want people to pity, oh, poor Virginia. The thought of that made me, just my skin crawl. And so I didn't want to tell anybody, because I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for me, damn it, because I'm a survivor, and I'll be fine, and I'm plucky, you know, and that was all, I'll make this work. And when I couldn't, through goal setting or through it, I couldn't make it work.
You couldn't force it.
I couldn't make it happen. And then just by the grace of God, truly, we got pregnant again for the fourth time, and had a perfectly beautiful, wonderful, healthy boy. And then Ford. Bradford Jr. goes by Ford, and he is just the most spirited is the nice word we use for it. Spirited child on the planet. We had a meeting this morning. We're doing some work on our house, and a contractor came, and he said, I just love your child. He has such presence. And I was like, that's the way to put it. Yes, that is him. Yes.
Spirited child who has such presence.
Spirited child with tons of presence. That's exactly who he is. He's amazing, and I adore him. We're in toddler zone right now, so things are just, for parents who have toddlers or have had toddlers, they understand the toddler hell we speak of, but it's all wonderful, and of course he's such a blessing. And then my little newborn, of course, seems like the biggest angel on the planet compared to my toddler, but he was an oopsie, number 2. Oh. We definitely would have if we were planning it, we would have waited a little more time. I got pregnant when Ford was about 10 months old, so they're only roughly a year and a half apart. And it's, again, what a blessing. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? To have all the pregnancy loss and then have pregnancy come when you're not even like, whoa, wait, we weren't, okay, that's our journey. All right, let's do this. We're gonna have 2 boys under 2.
Here we go.
3 if you count my puppy. 3 boys under 2 with a dog. And that's our life now. That's our family.
This is when you realize you're really not in control, right?
Exactly.
Of life. You're like, well, wasn't planning that, and there it goes. Or I'm trying to plan this and doesn't go my way.
I always like to say God laughs at our plans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as I get really, because I'm, as I told you, a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm a planner. I like things planned out. I like to know what's going to happen. And I mean, I just feel like God the past couple of years has taken everything with me and gone like, I'm going to take all your stuff and throw it in a big pot and whirl it around and then throw it in your face.
Do you like it?
Yeah, and it's all wonderful and beautiful. It's just so not what I was expecting or planning, or I mean everything, including just work and family, and I mean everything has just been our home. Everything's just been different than what I have tried to make it, make it be. And I love that. It's always better than what you, I think, have even worked for, when you let the chips just lie where they go. And I mean, oh my gosh, my little angel Bo, I can't even imagine anyone but him. He's the perfect little guy, and he had to come into our life at that time. So
if I'm curious about 2 things. First is, I also trust that there's lessons in everything we go through, all of our challenges. So if you were to look back on that time, when you were experiencing the pain of the miscarriages, and you're like, what was the lesson in that? What would you see that would be? Because maybe other women can see that as their lesson to potentially, I know we all have different ones, but sometimes it's helpful to know that there is really that silver lining in the suffering.
Sure. Couple things. First, we already discussed, I think, I love the way you phrased it, when in doubt, look out. That's great. I think that was a major life lesson I learned, to put the focus outward and off of myself, and give in whatever way that may be. Another is, I actually, during that time, grew much closer to my husband. I think that a lot of people, when they're going through this, it can be really challenging on your relationship, and because don't get me wrong, there were a lot of fights, a lot of tears, a lot of stress, and a lot of, when you're trying to procreate, you are definitely potentially taking some of the fun out of
let's do this, we're making a baby.
And there's a lot of just a lot wrapped around all of that. And what is really interesting, and I credit my husband a lot with this, is we really tried to be cognizant of the stress we were under, be forgiving, have grace with each other and with ourselves, and ultimately grow closer together. And that, I think, might be, I don't know how rare that is or how common that is, honestly, but I do know a lot of people experience divorce when they're going through painful periods like this. And for us, we just were really diligent about our commitment to each other, and said, no, you know what, we've got each other. If we go another route, we know we want children, and it will happen. It may not look like what we thought it was going to look like. We may or may not be able to have them biologically. We may or may not I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. But we're in it together. We're each other's family, and we're going to love each other through that. I think that it opened up some real lines of communication for us. And we were smart, I think, about recognizing when we needed help. We went to a counselor, we got marriage counseling, we really talked things through, and we learned how to communicate with each other
That's beautiful.
In a more productive way.
Because I was going to say too, I know when people experience shame, a lot of times to help alleviate that shame is just to talk about it. And then some might not want to feel the pity, so you're like, now I'm in a trap. Like, how do I talk about this so that I can release the shame, but then also, if I don't want to experience this from another person, where's the fine balance in that? So knowing you got, talk to a counselor, or maybe if some people can say something else, I don't know, if maybe, I just want you to listen, I don't want your pity, but just hear me out, or whatever that might be. What would you have any extra bits of advice for somebody who might want to share, but Maybe he doesn't want the pity either.
Right. No, that's hard, because I feel like, I mean, on the one hand, I would say to someone, if they didn't have the support of a parent or a spouse or whatever, to seek out, whether it's a group. I guarantee you, if you just Google it, I mean,
support groups.
They've got to be support groups for this, and to be with other people who are going through something similar, I think is very helpful. But even if you just have one person that you can say, I just need you to hear this. Listen. I just need you to listen and not try to fix it, but this is what I'm going through, and get it out there. Because I think that I kept it very private. There were friends that I told, but I often didn't get the response that I wanted from them. I'm not even sure what that necessarily was. It changed with each person.
But not that.
And so I tended to just kind of keep it to myself. And I think that energy that I was holding on to of, I was very, very sad. And after my second miscarriage, I actually went into a bit of a depression. It was, of course, carrying over into other aspects of my life. Like, of course, my work wasn't thriving during that time, because I was carrying this burden with me, and I was very self-critical. And I think that I needed some time to release that, to have conversations about it and let it, I know someone who has had difficulty with, had a lot of difficulty with pregnancy. And I remember her saying that when she would get birth announcements or kids' birthday party invitations or whatever, that and this was her journey, and that I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying that it's something I took from it and learned from it. But for her, at least at this time, she needed to then immediately throw it away. Like, couldn't have it on her fridge, didn't want to see, she said, I'm happy for that person that they had their kid, but I can't, it was a trigger. And like I said, I'm not passing judgment on this. I'm just saying that what, interestingly, I found happened for me, and part of this was a very conscientious choice, was I made myself then go, you know what, I welcome this, because I want to bring children in my life. So every time I got a birth announcement, I smacked it right in the middle of the fridge. I put it right where I could see it. And I kind of, just trained myself to go, hey, your joy is my joy. My joy is your joy. I love you. I'm so thrilled this child is coming for you. I can't wait for my child to come to me. It's happening. It's happening. I have faith, and I'm letting, and I say this, it's very hard for me to talk about this, because some people are going to have a different outcome than what I had. And I don't mean to put false hope or have judgment on people that aren't going to end up having the outcome that I had. I'm very, very blessed that I was able to have 2 biological children, and I'm still very open to adoption in the future and fostering. We may look into those routes down the road. But I know that some people, the pain is so personal and so intense when you want to have a child and you can't. And my heart breaks for any of your listeners right now that may be hearing this, and I don't mean to make light of it at all and say, oh, just put the birth announcement on your fridge and hope and pray and it'll be fine and you'll have your baby, because that isn't necessarily going to happen. It's not necessarily going to happen. But for me, I just knew I wanted to create the energy. And like I said, I was open to whatever it might not have been biologically, it could have been another way. But I knew children were going to be in my life. I wanted to welcome them. And so my way of doing that was to celebrate them in others' lives and create a space in my home where I was welcoming it in. Yes.
This goes back to what you said earlier, attitude. It is what it is. You get to decide how you want to feel about it and what lens you want to look through. And ultimately, as it's going on, by you celebrating, you're creating still that joy within, even in a challenging moment of not having what you want, or you can create something that feels way darker in the face of the same circumstance. So I love that. Yeah. So I ask all my guests 3 questions.
Ooh,
this is the
scared.
Unlock Your Heart round to get a little bit more insight into your beautiful soul. So the first question is this. What is something unique about you that most people don't know?
Something unique about me that most people don't know. I am extraordinarily gifted at playing Miss Pac-Man.
Oh. Wow, yeah.
I have gotten to the kill screen and basically broken the machine where it couldn't go to any further levels. That's how good I am at Miss Pac-Man.
Yes. Way to go.
I don't know how much that tells you about my soul, as you put it, but we had a Miss Pac-Man machine, hilariously, growing up in our playroom. My dad had gotten one from our church was selling it or getting rid of it. It was an old one or something, and we would play this thing all the time, and so I got really, really, really good at it.
Amazing.
And I'm kind of a savant.
Okay. I will never challenge you to Miss Pac-Man. I'll just let you win. All right.
It would not be good for you.
Second question is this: when you're in a really dark place, what's your go-to to get out?
Well, it's kind of a trick question, right? Because sometimes when you are in that dark place, or I can only speak for myself, sometimes when I'm in that dark place, sometimes I don't even want to get out. I want to sit there and wallow in it. And that is the real challenge when you go, wow, what am I gaining from this by all this self-pity? But when I do kind of start to see the light a little bit and go, okay, how am I going to climb out of this? There's something that has just always worked, and it's sort of like a magic trick, really.
I love magic tricks.
Start with 3 things you're grateful for. I start to list the things I'm grateful for. And if it's like a period of time where I'm really in a dark place for a bit, I have a gratitude journal. And I'll pull it out. I wish I could say I do this every day. I don't. I've gone through periods where I've, done it for 3 months in a row or whatever. But pull it out and just start writing down all the things you have to be grateful for. And immediately things do shift. There's an immediate shift.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I love writing gratitude out. I actually have a text chain with 2 of my best friends.
Oh, how wonderful.
Every morning we write our gratitudes on the text.
Oh, I love that.
It's the best way. Yeah. To start your day off that way, stay connected to the people I love, and also be inspired by the things that they're grateful for as well. But gratitude it's a great magic trick. I love it. And then knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
Oh man, to my 10-year-old self, that little girl was, so when I was 10, it's funny you even say 10, when I was 10, I have a very vivid memory of walking to lunch and being in line, myself and another girl, and then this third girl, and I was pushed down into the grass. And I remember being down on the ground and having a split-second decision to make. Do I get up and go confront her and say, hello, what was that? Why did you just push me down?
Yeah.
Or do I pick myself up and brush off and pretend it didn't happen and avoid as much embarrassment from the other kids seeing me as possible? And I, at the time, chose the latter. And I realized so many years later as an adult that I was making so many of my decisions based on something that happened to that 10-year-old girl, that I was avoid the conflict and just try to avoid the embarrassment, pretend everything's okay, as opposed to just facing something head on. And it doesn't mean confronting her and punching her lights out, which is probably what I now as an adult want to do. But it does mean standing up for yourself and just simply going, what was that? And why did that happen? And I now have confidence in myself because I can address this and recognize that that's not behavior that I'm okay with. And so I think the advice that I'd maybe give my 10-year-old self would just be value yourself, and when something feels off and not in alignment, with your values, confront it head on right then. Discuss it, talk about it, figure it out, whether it's with another person or even with yourself. Grappling with something with yourself, instead of avoiding the shame and stuffing it down. Head on. And just approach it head on, admit it, approach it head on, and have that conversation, whether it's with yourself or someone else.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today with me. And I cannot wait for the listeners. Oh, they're listening right now. I'm so excited just that you shared this time, and thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yes. It was lovely to be here.